Good morning, everyone. Today is March 23rd, 2021. I am your host, James Mason. With me is Todd Derby. Todd, how are you doing this morning?
Doing well. Having a good day. Yourself?
So far, so good. So let's start off with what is the market looking like today? So the market is actually pretty red pre-market here. Dow futures are currently down negative 149 points. S&P 500 down negative 16 and a quarter points. So we're probably looking like a decently red day in the market. So if you are long, make sure you have that plan. And same for if you're short. As we know how this market has been for a long time now, all it takes is for that Federal Reserve to come out or the Treasury and say something crazy, and it could completely reverse your entire position. So let's get into it, guys. So, Todd, there is a ticker that I want to bring up.
Oh, no doubt.
That is ticker, drum roll. Let's see if we had a drum roll. This is ticker SNMP. Man, I cannot tell you all of the complaining that I have heard from people getting way too in over their head on this trade when I called it out. Man, what was that? About 4 weeks ago, Todd?
Yeah, call out, and I hope they stayed in it because they got paid today, paid this morning. So
big time.
Two things. One, if they stayed in it and they had a trading plan. We talk about having a plan getting in. They want an exit strategy on these trades. So if you had an order sitting there, it spiked over $3 this morning. So payday.
Yeah. So this one I alerted a few weeks ago, and for the most part, I'm usually not wrong, with my call outs. The things that will come into play usually is timing, and that's just something that you cannot control within the markets. It is what it is. But this one right here, SNMP, had a perfect setup on the daily chart, and I'll pull it up for y'all. So back in here, had the perfect setup on the daily chart, and little did we know macro events that were taking place behind the scenes. Long story short, the Saudi government came out and readjusted their production rates, which took this thing and put it into the ground almost. So it actually put it under $1, and obviously the lowest got here was 87 cents. So I read this thing up initially, and when I trade, I constantly move my profits up. I mean, my stop losses up to secure profits. It pulled back, stopped me out within profit. I thought it was going to go back down just the way it was set up. I re-entered again at my initial alert, my entry price at $1.35. Well, my initial stop loss was $1. So then it pulled back to $1. So I pretty much just erased everything that I just made. Really, no harm, no foul. But there were so many people who did not honor any stop loss at all. There were so many people who waited and bought at the top, literally. They bought at like $1.75, which was right at the top. And hey, that's something that I cannot help. When you're trading, and if you see an entry point, if you miss it, you need to discipline yourself and understand that you need to move on here. If you miss that entry, that your entry is where you're going to make money. If you miss your entry, don't enter it. There are trades that happen every day. So just keep that in mind, guys. Don't go chasing something just because it already has that momentum behind it. You miss the entry, move on, walk away from it, just so you don't get smoked. But if you still jump in, or even if you just jump in at an entry and you have that stop loss, in play, so you have that plan. If you don't honor your stop loss, you can only be upset at yourself if it just keeps going lower and lower and lower. It's like quicksand. You get into quicksand, the more you struggle, the worse it gets. And that's what people do here. So they didn't honor stop losses. They just kept piling in with more and more money. And man, I cannot tell you the amount of messages I have received over this stinking ticker over something that nobody, foreseen in the market with the Saudis adjusting their oil production. But all the messages I received about this and how they're so upside down because they have so many shares now. Guys, you have to have a plan. That's the main thing with trading. Now, for those who held on for dear life, hey, I hope y'all are locking in those profits today. Don't get FOMO wanting to chase this thing up to $6. You got lucky. And the reason why I say it, because 135 was a critical breakout point. And all these days since, look at this 5-minute chart. All these days, just under that 135 line. And today, you guys got some solid news. When it broke past 135 again, it shot up. So if you're still in it, and if you're watching this right now, put that plan in place, take them profits. There's nothing wrong with it. So that is what I had to say for this ticker. Todd, do you have anything to say?
The way it parabolically shot up this morning, I think it's a strong short candidate. So I would just be, to James' point, you got to be grabbing your profit and locking in. The trailing stop loss, move your stop loss up, take some shares off the table. There's nothing wrong with trimming your position, but you definitely got to take advantage of this opportunity. If you don't, then you have to rethink what your trading skills or your trading goals are.
Yeah. Once you get to the point to where you're worrying and just constantly thinking about a ticker, your position size is too large. That's the truth.
That's probably the number one private message I get. And, you and I've talked about this quite a bit, James, that, hey, ticker XYZ, ticker ABC, what should I do? I got a little bit of profit, don't know what to do. If you're asking that question, you probably need to exit the strategy or reduce it because you're worried or you're nervous, or but you should be in trades that don't create that much fear or concern in your trading activity.
Exactly. So, all right. So the next one we are going to look at is ticker YVR. So let me pull it up real quick. All right. So YVR, yesterday we saw this thing start making a pretty nice push at the end of the day. After hours, it went up, and then pre-market pretty much hit its highs here. Now, if we look at the news, we can see that after hours yesterday, they announced the closing of a $6 million direct offering of common shares. Basically, they're going to sell shares to raise the money, which dilutes the stock. Once you kind of start hearing that stuff being talked about or see it coming in the news, if you're in profit, go ahead and make that plan that you are going to have to exit this trade soon. So we can see pretty much what has now transpired into this nice bullish run since yesterday. People are now locking in that profit, and it's pulling back significantly. Is there going to be a bounce and go back up to keep running? There might be a bounce, but chances are probably not. So if you are in this one, that is what I would do. I would go ahead and start thinking about locking in those profits if you haven't already, and moving on to the next one. So not that this part matters right here, but its last updated short interest was 55,000 shares, so next to nothing, honestly. The share structure overall, 9.9 million shares outstanding, float 5.2 million shares. This is a low float, started making its push. If you're in it, hey, make some money here, close it out, move on to the next. If you're just trying to jump in this now, may God have mercy on your soul. I'm just gonna be honest. So that's what I see for ticker YVR. Really quick, I actually do want to jump back to SNMP with what Todd said about it starting to set up as a short candidate. Yes, yeah. I do agree with this. With Todd's thesis here. When something moves up this strongly, you have to watch out because the bears are going to be eyeing this thing up to beat it down. Especially, guys, we have not really had strong pre-markets over the last few weeks with news. For the bears, it's slim pickings. And when there's only one or two tickers that are making strong moves like this, that's what they're looking at to short. They're trying to make money as well. And when there's only one or two tickers making a strong push up, it's not that they're working together, but there's nothing else to work within. So they'll all be piling on top of stuff like this. So keep that in mind, guys. So let's take a look at the comments.
See what we got going on. A couple questions. Vito, you asked a question about black box trading. You got 20 years of experience. So if you're a member of our program, that might be a better conversation because I don't think we're going to be able to cover it in this YouTube show in our chat box. And between Jeffrey and Jonathan or James and I, we can probably dial you in a little bit and address some of your issues there or where you're struggling with that. So hop in the chat box and we'll help you out throughout the day on that. Another question was, how long does it take to move money from Ameritrade to your bank account? James, how long does it take? You use Ameritrade.
Okay, so what has kind of gotten weird about it, I used to never have any issues at all moving money from my brokerage account back into my bank. It would happen within like 30 minutes. The second from the last time that I'd done it, I moved 15,000 and it took like 2 days or so. It took a while to where I was like, man, did they lose my money or something? And then like I literally got onto TD Ameritrade just to verify that I had my bank account linked up correctly and whatnot. So it did take a while the second from last time that I've moved money around, and which is kind of odd because it never done that before. So not sure what TD has going on there. I don't know if it has anything to do with this merger, but yeah, hopefully you get your money moved sooner rather than later. Because It is stressful. It is stressful.
JG's asking about Gamble. He wants to pull out your crystal ball, and he wants to know if this ticker is going to get back over 21.
Oh, man. What ticker is that?
GMBL. George, Mary, Boy, Larry.
Is it going to get back over 21? Man.
21 must be his break-even spot.
Let's see. So I do want to see that MACD obviously roll over here. It could. So with this current daily setup right here, in the moment, it does look like it has that potential to break above it. But at the same time, man, you just don't ever know. I mean, I would like to say yes, but at the same time, man, you just don't know. I mean, that's the honest thing I can say. You just don't know. I don't know. I mean, it's set up to look like it wants to at least test that area again. The MACD, though, while it is looking like it wants to curl over, the MACD still is red. That is one thing that you have to consider.
I just asked the Magic 8 Ball. The Magic 8 Ball said yes.
Okay. That's usually, yeah, I should have just done that. I legitimately have a crystal ball that Jeffrey had bought for me. So I should have just got the crystal ball and just looked at it instead of trying to think on my own. Now, but from a technical analysis standpoint and looking at the RSI right here, so we see this spike in RSI, goes up to 86.6 right back here. It is currently at 59, which is good because what usually happens is you have that strong spike in the RSI, it cools off, and then that second run up will break above 70 for the RSI, which usually creates that newer, higher high. So hopefully nothing negative comes into this trade for you. And all these gears just stay turning in the same direction. If they all keep turning in the same direction, obviously you're going to turn out okay here.
Yeah. All right. Next question is Octavius is asking about APOP. And we talk about APOP a lot. So I think the issue with APOP is we are waiting for data. And what they did is they did a 12-person study overseas, and it was the data from that was successful. That's what gave them a bump. And now they're doing that same study in the United States. And we have to wait for the results from that, assuming that they're using, that they have a similar results when they release that. That's going to move them to an FDA advisory meeting or an AdCom and put them closer to their goal, and we'll get a pop out of that. That's literally what we're waiting for. And there's nothing we can do about it. Magic Ball can't help us on this one.
Yeah. APOP is literally standby to standby to standby, just waiting for them to tell us. But looking at it on the daily chart from a technical standpoint, it actually does look good. So this data clearly is wrong with TradingView right here about earnings yesterday. Not sure where they get that from, but no one else was reporting March 22nd for earnings. And that just popped up yesterday. So looking at a technical standpoint for APOP, in full disclosure, I'm very heavy into this stupid trade.
Yeah, I'm in it also.
Yeah. So let's start with MACD, since it would just be the easiest. So for these daily MACD candles, we can see, we got about 6 candles that are running green, which is perfect. Up here, national chart, the white line is the non-EMA. Yesterday's daily candle was above it, which is good. You can see how it consolidated on that non-EMA, and there's actually a bullish leaning candlestick. So let's see what today brings. Again, there are a lot of people, not just within our community, but other people outside of our community who have been in this for a lot longer than we have been, and they're just sick and tired of holding it. So, when you do see this selling off, that's usually what it is. People just tired of holding it. They get a little bit of profit, and they're popping smoke and getting out of there. So, to each their own. If that fits with their plan, and if they even made a little bit of profit, hey, kudos to them. When you do sit in a trade for a long time, it does get old. It really does. But that's another reason why you just can't get so in over your head to where you don't have any more capital to actually trade from. Like if you have enough capital to keep trading other stuff, it'll keep your mind off of what's going on here? When is this going to release news? And you can kind of focus on other things. So that's what APOP is looking like. The technical setup, even without the news, is looking good. As long as it holds up, and hey, the sooner they release that news, the better for all of us. Because I'm ready to cash out. So that's just me though.
Yeah, well, I think there's gonna be a lot of people at that window.
Yeah.
So, all right, ticker SNDL. That's one we've talked about a couple times in the last couple weeks.
All right, SNDL. There's no point in me even looking at the short interest on this thing because its outstanding shares are 1.6 billion, and the float is the same.
That's with a B. Yeah. That's with a B, not an M.
What's that?
Make sure they understand the outstanding shares is 1 billion, not 1 million.
1 billion. 1 billion. 1.6 billion. That's a ton of shares, guys.
They call that in the business a bloated pig.
Mm-hmm. So let's see. Just looking at the news real quick. All right. So without opening up all those filings, with that run up, and again, not really digging back too far, with that run up, I'm surprised. I'm sure it's somewhere if I actually dig into their filings, but surprised again. This is probably already out there, but I'm surprised that they haven't dropped an offering yet. And again, I'm also not going back too far to dig into all these filings. I'm sure there's an offering somewhere on the table here, because at the end of the day, this is a business. They're here to make money and keep operating. And when this thing shot up to almost $4 with 1.6 billion shares on the market, if they did not do an offering and cash in on that, man, what a mistake they made.
Yeah, it'd be a surprise.
Yeah. So overall, this thing is not looking good. We might see some consolidation on this 200 EMA line. But if that white line right here, this non-EMA line on the daily chart, crosses over that 200 EMA line, this thing is going to sell off. And it's going to get back under $1 again. And who knows where it's going down to. There's just too many shares on the market. So they're going to have to do something. Either give some better business news, or they're going to have to just do a reverse split. So if you're chasing the stock back here, or even earlier than that, I hope you took your profits. But if you're trying to jump in just now, really you're just kind of flipping a coin. Like, I mean, we could get a bounce here, but I'd be willing to bet that it's not going back up to $4. And by willing to bet, 99% sure it's not going back up there. So keep that in mind. So that is all I have today, Todd. Todd, do you have anything else?
No, we're good. It's been good. Appreciate the questions. It's nice to have a couple different questions than normal, so that was good. And the tickers. So as always, safe trading, happy trading. And those that are members, we have our live stream show today at 9:30.
All right, everyone. So market will open up red, more than likely. So just be sure, control those position sizes. And we appreciate y'all tuning in once again, and we will see y'all in the next one.